Power armor is the primary armor worn by many of the Imperium's elite fighting forces, including the Adeptus Astartes, Adeptus Sororitas, and the Legio Custodes. Usually, power armor is a completely enclosed suit to protect the wearer from toxic gases as well as unbreathable atmospheres, and is comprised of thick ceramic plates. The armor incorporates a backpack that houses the armor's main power source, environmental system, and additional stabilization units. In addition, the armor also contains hundreds of electrically motivated fiber bundles within the armor. The fiber bundles replicate the wearer's movement and can even enhance the user's strength, allowing them to carry heavy weapons such as heavy bolters, autocannons, and the like, without needing a two-man team like those heavy weapons wielded by the Imperial Guard. Although in the case of power armor used by the Adeptus Sororitas or members of the Inquisition, this strength augmentation is nowhere near as high as the armor worn by the Astartes or the Custodes, due to unaugmented humans lacking a black carapace. If the user has a black carapace organ implanted within their body, they can integrate further with the armor, acting as if it was a very part of their bodies for even greater and enhanced movement and strength enhancement. In addition to these, power armor also incorporates auto sensors, a life science monitor, and built-in nutrient reservoir. Space Marine power armor in particular has undergone a number of revisions over the millennia since the armor's inception during the Unification Wars on Terra. These previous renditions of Astartes power armor include the following types: Mark I Thunder armor, used by the Thunder Warriors, the Proto-Space Marines used by the Emperor in the Unification Wars on Terra. Due to the armor being used solely for Terran conflict, it's the only pattern of Space Marine power armor that isn't a fully sealed suit, and in addition lacks the life support functions that later patterns of armor will acquire. Mark II Crusade armor, the first pattern developed by the Mechanicum after being reunited with Terra in the first steps of the Great Crusade. Mark III Iron armor, developed in response to the Imperium engaging in brutal conflicts and intense tunnel fighting against the forces of the squat homeworlds. This mark is notable for featuring augmented frontal defense and additional ablative plates for maximum protection in environments lacking cover. Mark IV Maximus armor, designed to be far more easily maintainable and easier to repair as the Great Crusade carried on. Mark V Heresy armor, which was developed as a response to the outbreak of the Horus Heresy, being relatively cheap and easy to produce as the conflict raged on and both sides needing repairing and replacing of their equipment. Mark VI Corvus armor, named in honour of the Raven Guard Primarch Corvus Corax, due in part to the beak-like design of the helmet and the fact that the first sets of armour were used by the Raven Guard in recognition of the sacrifices made by the Legion during the Dropsite Massacre. Mark VII Aquila armour, which was developed during the Horus Heresy and is currently the most widespread form of Astartes power armour in use today. Mark VIII Errant armour, which featured additional fixed armour plating on the torso that now enclose all of the suit's cables. In addition, it features a new armoured collar that protects the helmet's respirator, as well as also addressing the vulnerability issues of the neck joint. This armour is considered to be rare and is usually worn by veteran Space Marines as a symbol of rank, but has seen a more common usage throughout the members of the Death Watch. And finally, Mark X Tacticus armour, used exclusively for the new type of Astartes known as Primaris Marines. But what happened to Mark IX armour? It does seem rather strange that the Imperium would jump from Mark VIII straight to Mark X. Now it's important to note there are other patterns of power armour used by the Astartes that do not fit the other marks of power armour. For example, Space Wolf Rune Priests use what is commonly known as runic armour, due to the runes carved in it by the Iron Priests of the chapter. Officially, this armour is known as Mark XII Lupio armour, disregarding the trend of each new mark of armour used by the Astartes as going up in number with every type. There is also one more edition of armour that has recently come into existence, Gravis Armor. This armour, while its mark is officially unknown at the time, is worn by Primaris Marines, and features a gorget similar to Mark VIII armour, as well as a dome-shaped hood, shaped similarly to a psychic hood. As this has been constructed at the same time as Mark X, this could in fact be either Mark IX or even Mark XI. Another type of power armour that is frequently used by Astartes is the pattern used by Grey Knights. These suits are generally based on components from Mark VI, VII and VIII, similar to how Mark X pattern power armour is seemingly based on components from Mark IV and Mark VIII. In addition, this armour used by the Grey Knights incorporates a system known as the Aegis. The Aegis is a lattice of psychoconductive filaments and amulets wrought into hexagrammic wards and inscribed with anti-demonic prayers, which are usually installed into the very armour itself, which in turn gives the wearer greater protection from warp-based entities. The armour that the Grey Knights utilise itself has no official Mechanicus designation, like how the Lupio pattern has. Could it be possible that the Grey Knights utilise Mark IX armour? It's certainly a possibility, but Grey Knight armour, which we will, for the sake of ease in this video, now refer to as Aegis armour, might not be a unique mark of armour after all, save for the addition of the Aegis wards. There have been cases of other marks of armour having unique variants. For example, Mark IV Maximus armour also has the Achaean variant, which bore unique helms and pauldrons. These variants were produced by Forge Worlds local to Prospero exclusively for the Thousand Sons Legion. Given the unique knight-like helmet that Aegis armour incorporates, it could simply be that Aegis armour is in fact a variant of Mark VIII Errant armour with a unique helmet, and given the Grey Knights' proximity to Mars, could have the unique variants of their helmets made exclusively by the Martian forges. If Aegis armour is just a variant of Mark VIII Errant armour, then what could have happened to Mark IX? One possibility is that the armour is currently still in development to be utilised by the Astartes, or was simply put on hold due to the mass production of Mark X armour for the newly created Primaris Marines. Another explanation could be due to some kind of disaster that happened when Mark IX was developed and tested. Perhaps the armour's machine spirit was corrupted and took control. Machine spirits, according to the followers of the machine cult, are entities that inhabit and control any piece of machinery or technology in existence, and as such, it is the will of the machine spirit that determines whether a piece of technology works or not. Perhaps the spirits of Mark IX armour caused the wearer to kill unprepared civilians and tech adepts, causing the Adeptus Mechanicus to wipe its development from the records due to its corrupt and unappeasable nature. Another possibility is that, similar to Mark XII Lupio armour used by the Space Wolves, is that Mark IX is a unique piece of armour utilised by an as of yet unknown chapter, and the only reason it has not become public knowledge is due to the loss of the codex detailing it. Perhaps the Imperium simply jumped to Mark X for no other reason than simply feeling like it. Or perhaps the Imperium simply can't count. What do you think? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.